leaving from the Foggy Bottom Campground, which is only about a mile or so north of Gardner. Well, I should say downtown Gardner. It's in Foggy Bottom's located in Farmingdale. And as soon as we get past these no wake zone markers, we can accelerate up as we head toward Gardner Landing. We'll cruise by Gardner Landing, which is not only a park, but also has a boat ramp and some slips. That's the bridge we just went under. I circled back around to show a little bit of the Gardner Landing Park and area. There's actually some restaurants within short walking distance, and the boat ramp is just to the right of that sailboat. As we leave the Gardner Landing area, we'll see that this part of the river in this section is pretty wide. I'm going to stay toward the left shore here off our port side, because the right can be pretty shallow and have some rocks in it. Throughout this cruise, I'm going to stay where the markers are and follow what appears to be the main route to avoid any shallow areas. There's usually plenty of water, and I see boaters going all over, and it's probably fine. I just don't do it. And you'll see these green buoys coming up here in just a moment. There's one just to the right there, and we'll stay to the left, and then there's a second one. Even though most people will have a GPS or charts and will be able to see where the buoys are located, I think it's useful to see where they are from the ground level. It may not always be so obvious, and you can see some places are very important where they're placed, and some not so important. Here's a red buoy. We'll stay to its right. And we're coming up on the Smithtown Marina. This is about the only place to get gas if you need it between Gardner and Augusta and Bath, unless you carry it to your boat or you trailer it and then you can stop at a gas station. But if you're already in a slip and on the water, this is it. The gas is located at the south end of the marina. You can just see the tank now. I'm going to zoom in here and we'll get a better look at it. There's a phone number on it, which I don't recall what it is. You can't see it in the video, but anyway, if you call that number and get a hold of Rich, he'll come out and fill up your tank. You got to call ahead, though. He's not always available. He's a busy man. As we exit this spot, for this next section, there'll be two red buoys, and they're kind of in the middle of the river. So I tend to stay toward the right half again on this stretch as well. So like draw a center line down the middle of the river and then stay to the right of it, about a third to halfway between the center and the shore. There's still plenty of water out here. It's not really a problem, but nonetheless, I tend to be very cautious. You'll also see hit the waves before you get to the first buoy. We'll come across the next buoy after we pass this next curve. I stay toward the center here, and then as we hit the curve, make sure at the full turn, drifting more or less to the left, but staying close to center. And then just center the river, and then you'll come up on the next buoy. It'll be a red one, and we'll stay on the right of it. Yep, one more no wake zone. This will be the last one for a while. This is a nice little marina here on the right with slips. And once we're through here, then it'll be wide open until we reach our destination of Richmond. Okay, as we start to leave this area, you'll see this island ahead if I keep the camera on it. I go to the left where the water is deepest. That's the best way to go, I think. You can go to the right and there's water there, but there are a few places where you get into some shallows. So I keep to the left. Coming out of the island, you'll come across two red buoys. The first one is pretty clearly obvious here, and then the second one, though, is kind of obscured by the shore. And after passing this one, you'll want to make a gradual turn slightly to the left, and then go straight like you're going right for the shore. And even though it looks like it's right there, it ain't so obvious. After you pass the second buoy, you're going to stay to the right side of the river for a little while, and then we'll drift back toward the center for the next buoy. We've been staying to the right side here, but we're going to change over here in a second. There's a red buoy coming up that will stay on the right side, or starboard. And then, as we continue on, we'll see a green buoy coming up. And that'll tend to push us to the port side, left side of the river, which is kind of counterintuitive since you'll see some rocks in a minute that you'll be getting a little close to, but not seriously. This next buoy is actually green, red, green, which means you can pass on either side. But since it's green on the top, that means the preferred side is the left side. So we'll stay on the left side. Okay, we're approaching the Kennebec River Bridge, which is Highway 197 right next to Richmond. When we cross under this, we'll be making a right turn to go into Richmond, and on the left will be Swan Island. If we had made a left turn, that would take us to Bath, and then from Bath on to the coast and Booth Bay and other points. But we're going to Richmond today, so after we cross under the bridge, we'll be making a right turn. Here's a chart showing where we're going to go now. We're approaching Richmond, as you can see on the top of the chart, and we're going to head south and go all the way to the bottom of Swan Island. That's all Swan Island there in the center. Circle around the bottom, and then reconnect with the Kennebec River and come back up. Coming up on the left as we approach Richmond is the gateway, I'll call it, into Swan Island. There's a small ferry that runs from the mainland at Richmond to this little dock area where you can get out and walk around and bring a bicycle and explore the island. There's a lot of old homes that are no longer lived on in there. It's protected, so there's lots of deer and turkey and eagles and things to look at. There are several videos of people going through there. It's really pretty interesting. You can see that little white boat there on the far shore. Right behind it is where the ferry picks people up. So it's a very short ferry ride. That you can park there, and there's some small fee. You can look it up, and they'll bring you over to the island and take you back. And that's the ferry landing right there. And they have a nice boat ramp here too. It's take some pretty good sized boats into this place, so it's a good spot to launch and recover boats. And Richmond has this nice dock connected to this very nice little park with a gazebo. And you can tie up here for a few hours and walk around, and there's restaurants, a few restaurants in here to go eat. Just a nice place to go. And Richmond has its marina down here a little ways from the downtown area. Once we get past this, we can accelerate up and head on around the island and rejoin the Kennebec and head back toward Gardner. There are no markers from here to the Kennebec River. So if you come along from here, if you go from Richmond out to the Kennebec in this manner, then have a chart or a GPS, because there are definitely some shallow places out here and you need to pay attention. And now we're rejoining the Kennebec River. Off to the right, you'll see some power lines. That's the route going on into Bath and the coast and Booth Bay and everywhere else. We're going to be heading back, so we'll be making a left turn and heading back onto the Kennebec River to head back toward the Richmond Kennebec River Bridge and on into Gardner. You might have noticed I was heading right for the buoy there for a second, but all of a sudden I realized I had made my turn too soon, and I suddenly went from about 15 feet of water down to under 5, and so I made an abrupt move to the right to get back into deeper water, but we don't see the buoy again. I went on around it, and now we're heading where we should be. Now, since we're heading back in, everything's reversed. The red buoys will be to our starboard side, and the green ones will be on our port side. We're coming up on the first red one now to our starboard side, so we'll stay to the left of it. Lots of nice wide watery areas here, but there are lots of shallows with rocks. You can see this red marker coming up on the right. There's some rocks all around there. I stick to the channel and stay on the left half of the river here. We're coming up on two green buoys. We'll pass this first one here, And then in a couple minutes, we're going to come up on a second one. And right after that, we'll be making a left turn through a gap. The river looks like it goes straight here, but you don't. You make a turn. As we make the turn, we'll be entering the Lovejoy Narrows, they're called. You can see the depth from this chart. Pretty much if you stay in the center, you'll be fine. It looks kind of narrow, but it's not that big a deal. Just stay in the center of the channel of the river. You'll be okay. There aren't any more buoys until just before the bridge. And this one on the left marks some very rocky spots there you want to definitely avoid. And then there's one more, and then we make the right and head under the bridge and back toward Gardner. Just as we transition here to a new clip, you'll see a sturgeon coming out of the water. They're all over the place out here. You can just see them jumping right there. Boosh. You'll recall when we started out, we came up to this last marina in an island and we went left because the water was deepest there. Well, this is the reverse now. We've come up on the first of the two buoys, and when we pass it, we'll make a sweeping turn to the right, and then stay to the right side of the island, passing the next buoy. And that's just where the deeper water is. Some people may go straight to the marina. There's a couple of shallow spots. I don't like to deal with it. So here we go. So there's the island, and the next red buoy, you can just see it coming up on the right, on the starboard side. This is the way you want to go, around the island again on the right. The return after the island and that first marina returning is pretty much the same as going out. So now we're at Gardner Landing, and we'll have a better view of the boat ramp. It's actually double-sided. You can launch and recover boats on either side of this little dock, rather pier coming out. And now it's time to head for the house.